Welcome, Lyndsay, to the Unstoppable Marketing and Mindset podcast. I'm so excited you're here. Thank you for agreeing to come on. I'd love to just start by getting you to share a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on, Em. This is like a great privilege for me. I'm Lyndsay. I am a nurse by trade. I live in Adelaide in Australia, but I'm originally from the UK. So we came 4 years ago for a better life, I suppose. And what I do is I help websites get found on Google. So when people search for things on Google, there is a way to make your website get found more easily, and it's called SEO. So that's what I currently do as my business.
Amazing. And so Lyndsay has been in the Unstoppables for about 6 months. Is it about that long?
I joined in September. So
Okay,
what are
a
we
little bit
in?
longer
Oh
than
God,
6
yeah.
months then.
Yeah, just a little bit over 6 months. Yeah.
Yes. And so can you share what it's been like being in the Unstoppables and how your business has expanded or evolved as a result of being in that program?
Yeah, sure. So I think I need to go back to September because when I joined the Unstoppables, I actually joined with a very different business in mind. So I had a business idea and I met Em a few years ago, actually, and I wasn't ready at that point to start this business. And then when I got in touch with Em and I made the leap and I joined the program. And then within about 8 weeks of this business starting, the rug was pulled from under me, unfortunately, and I had to pull back from what I was doing. So I'd committed to this business coach program for 12 months, and then all of a sudden my business had just disappeared overnight. And I hit the floor and took a moment, and Em supported me with just giving me that space just to stop and actually think, what am I going to do now? It was like, what the hell am I going to do now? I've signed up for this program. My business has just disappeared overnight. Oh, it was a pretty rough time. Fast forward a few weeks, I went on holiday, and I promised myself that I was going to just chill, just give myself space to breathe. And of course, my manifesting generator brain would not let me chill. So I wanted to be productive. So I'd got this in the back of my mind of, oh, my business has just kind of disappeared overnight. I need to think of something else to do. But my husband actually has his own business. So he sells double glazed windows in Adelaide. And I thought, right, I've got nothing else to do. I'll help him. So I'd created a website for him a few weeks previously and published it, but nothing. It was like crickets. Nobody got in touch with us. Nobody messaged us. It was like, what is going on? So I thought, right, I've got nothing else to do. Let me find out what's going on with this website. Mm-hmm. So I did what every human does, started Googling, why is my website not getting found? How can I improve? Like, how can I get on page 1 of Google? And slowly I started really like after you get past all the spammy stuff of like ranking number 1 and all that sort of stuff, you kind of realize that there is a process, and it's called SEO. It's called Search Engine Optimisation, and there are ways that you can improve your visibility on your website. So because I've got nothing else to do, I started researching and looking into all this for his business. And then fast forward 6 months, 6 months almost, and I'm now a qualified SEO consultant. I've done multiple trainings and our website's doing great now. I am working with clients on their SEO. Mm-hmm. But just to take it back to being in the Unstoppables, I think like your support for me was incredible, because when the rug got pulled from under me, Dan was like, well, why don't you speak to your business coach about it? And I was like, but I don't have a business to talk to her about. I can't go and talk to her about this. And he was like, why can't you? And I was like, okay, I'll message her. And you were like, let's jump on a Zoom. Let's talk it out, find out what you're thinking. What do you want to do? And I think it sort of like allowed me to have permission to actually slow down and be like, what do I actually want to do? And now looking back, the business that I was originally coming into the Unstoppables to learn how to, market and promote and do wasn't actually for me, because it was
so different. For me. You haven't actually shared. Do you want to share what the previous business was so people can see the polarity in what they were?
Sure, yeah. So I qualified in NLP and hypnotherapy, and my plan was to do gut hypnotherapy because my nursing role is in gut health. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's a very, very different, completely different business. But actually, like when I think about it, and we've had conversations about this now, as soon as I made that decision to no longer pursue the gut hypnotherapy and I found SEO, it's like I found what was meant to be for me. Like, I love the data, I love the analysis, I love talking about SEO. I just love seeing it in black and white, the progress of how websites can go from, like, we were on page 15 of Google at one point, and now we're on page 1 for like 15 different keywords, and it's all a process, and it's very clear like how it's structured. And I think my personality type just
fits really
binds
well
with
with
that.
that. Yeah. As soon as
Yeah.
you made that pivot, it just absolutely took off. And it's part of the reason I've got you coming into the Unstoppables in a couple of weeks, because I can just see that what you have to offer at this point is so much value, because so many people who don't understand SEO can learn from you as someone who's only just learnt it. So you understand it in a way that very early days beginner understanders is totally a word, right, of SEO are going to resonate with, right? And the content you've been creating has been brilliant, and everyone is excited about what you're doing because it just seems to fit and flow so well. And I'm just really glad you took that space, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because a lot of people say to me, so does being unstoppable mean not stopping? But it's actually the opposite sometimes, right? You do actually need to stop and create space in order to be unstoppable, because you are unstoppable now, right? What happened felt like, oh my gosh, this is my business being pulled out from underneath me.
It felt like the end of the world. Well, you were there at the rock bottom for me, and you were like, just take a minute. Just
Yes.
take a minute, process.
One door
And
closes, another one opens.
yeah, and I think it was that, what do they call it? Like a redirection, or what do you call it now? You say putting a negative into a positive.
Oh,
And I
a
think
reframe. A
a
reframe.
reframe.
Yes.
And I think it was just the way you reframed it for me that like really helped.
Yes.
So going into Unstoppables with one plan and pivoting. So and it was a quick pivot, wasn't it? It was like by the beginning of December, it was like, right, SEO, and it was go.
Yep.
And
you committed to it. You really committed to it, you know?
Yeah.
The amount that you have actually done since then is huge. And you also have another job. So, you know,
two jobs.
Exactly, right? So you do a lot, and obviously your husband's business, or I guess it's your business as well, right, has benefited from that, as well as your SEO. And I know we were talking about how it was a win-win situation through the whole thing, because it was boosting the other business while working on this new business at the same time.
Yeah.
So it just always made sense.
Like looking back, it was a bit genius to pick something that was going to benefit us in that business as well.
Yeah.
But it just felt right. And I think like another thing for me about being in the Unstoppables isn't just about having that accountability and having that support. It's about all the things I've learned. So I came in September, obviously with this other business in mind, not knowing how to market, not knowing how to do online business, not knowing how to show up on Instagram, not knowing all the things that we've learned, like how to create a sales page. You know, I remember doing a workshop about SEO back then, but obviously it wasn't on my radar. And it's all these things that you learn by being in these groups that's really pushed me forward. And now, like, I know we'll always be self-critical, and we'll always think we've not reached our goals and we've not done enough. And I do feel like that now. But when you actually look back and think it's such a short period of time, and for me to now to actually be paid to do SEO from 7 months ago, not even understanding it, is insane. But we just don't stop and think.
And you've taken a lot of action on all of those things you've learned. So all the resources are there, right? You know, I know you've created lead magnets, and there's resources there for that. You know, you've set up your offers, there's resources there for that. You've considered your value ladder, so that you've got the lower cost offers, the higher cost offers, all of that you've implemented from the resources that are there. But of course you do have to take the action, right? And so do you think that the accountability and the coaching that you've received in the Unstoppables has helped you not only, yes, you've got the resources, but actually implement the things to get to the outcome?
Yeah, definitely. Because when we fill those accountability forms in, it's like there's nothing worse than ticking that no box. Like, have you achieved everything you set out to do this month? And ticking that no for me is a massive. I remember when we first had a conversation at the very beginning, I was like, please call me out on my bullshit. If I say I'm going to do something and I don't do it, please highlight it to me, because I'm very driven by hitting goals and making sure I'm on track. And just having you there in the background, knowing that you'll be like, did you get that done? And for me to have to say, no, and then come up with some excuse. I know there's always reasons why we don't get things done, but coming up with that excuse is like, shit, I've actually got to say no to her now.
Yeah,
So
it's a bit of motivation.
Yeah. And it's like, I didn't know that this is one of the benefits I was going to get out of being in Unstoppables. It's that feeling that you've always got people around you, even though
Mm,
you're in a business on your own. Like, I run my business completely on my own.
mm,
I still don't feel like I'm on my own. Like, I know that you guys are there and we catch up pretty much every week. There's something going on. I see your faces, and like, I've missed a few calls last week, just circumstances, and I was like, oh, I'll get to talk to you today. I haven't really spoke to you much in the last couple of weeks. And it's like you miss people, you miss that interaction with the people that you've built relationships with. And
mm.
there was like girls on the call yesterday that I didn't directly talk to, but I could see they were there, and it was just nice to see them there. So
Yes.
it's that community feeling as well that I didn't realize was going to be a huge part for me.
It is a
But
huge part,
yeah,
isn't it? And even
yeah,
just the feedback you get, from people in there when you share, it's not just from me, it's from others as well, that you're
yeah,
getting that feedback, which can be so vital, particularly with the work that you're now doing, because really
yeah.
everyone in the Unstoppables can benefit from better SEO.
And the collaboration, like I'm collaborating with other people in the Unstoppables, like on their packages and also in their group programs, like teaching their groups SEO. So
Yes.
it's definitely been beneficial being in the group for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, yes. And this is a whole strategy now, by the way, ladies and gentlemen that are listening. So the Lyndsay, she would love to come, and I'm just pitching you right here. She'd love to come
Oh,
into your group programs to share about SEO.
yeah.
Which she is coming to do in the Unstoppables in a couple of weeks. And this has been a brilliant testimonial for the Unstoppables, but I do really want to also get into some value for the listeners about SEO
Yeah.
and let you share a little bit of your expertise around it so that people can benefit and then potentially contact you if they need some help with their SEO. I know
Yeah.
you've kind of touched on what it is. You've said search engine optimization and that it helps
Yeah.
businesses be found on Google. But
Yeah.
can you explain a little bit more about what SEO is and why it's important for business owners?
Yeah, definitely. So I think it's a bit of a misconception with SEO because it is actually a form of marketing. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't think people connect those two things. I think they think marketing and they think like social media, advertising, and other things. But at its essence, SEO is about making money. It's not just about increasing traffic to websites. It's about getting the right traffic to websites. So if you can think of SEO as getting you hot leads, so these are people that are actually searching for things that you sell. So they're already pre-qualified. They're not scrolling through Instagram, looking, just aimlessly, and then something catches their eye and they're like, oh, I'll follow that person. They're actually in Google. They have a problem. They want a solution.
Yes.
So SEO is often like, and I just want to go back to something that you said about people not understanding SEO. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it's been given this bit of a cloak and dagger kind of like mysterious kind of edge to it. And I think the reason is because Google doesn't really want us to know exactly what we're supposed to be doing. They're a little bit cunning and they're a little bit vague. And the reason they obviously do that is because they don't want to give all their secrets away, because then everyone will be able to know everything. Because there's about 200 factors that actually Google looks at when looking at your website. And obviously, we don't have the time, not even SEOs have the time to be tackling all 200.
Mm-hmm.
So we just go for like the heavy hitters. We go for the ones that are going to make the biggest impact on your site, like keyword research, page speed, technical issues, and things like that. But yeah, I think also with SEO, it's been given a bit of a bad rap, and it's because there's a lot of people that they're almost trying to like trick the algorithm. They're trying to come up with these dodgy ways to, get people ranking higher for things that, don't make sense to their businesses. They'll put really poor content onto websites. Link farms is another one. So I think when people have signed up for agencies in the past, they've been scarred a little bit. And then
So
that
they've got some
message
fake
kind of,
results almost just to be like, we got you results.
yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Like,
that's not good.
big tip, red flag. If anyone promises you they will get you ranking for a certain keyword, run a mile.
Okay.
Because even though you are as an SEO confident that you can get somebody onto page one for that keyword, you would never promise that, because although SEO is a process, it's still an algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
So you can still tick all those boxes and it could still not get to the ranking that you want. So yeah, there's a lot of dodgy people out there that will try and take your money and not get you the results, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, that's definitely something to look out for. And I did not know that, but it does make sense that if someone promises that and then they can't get there without doing something dodgy, then they're going to have to find a way to make good on that promise. So
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Yes. So you've mentioned social media. Obviously, we all know social media is marketing. So
Yeah.
in what ways is SEO better than social media? There was one thing you mentioned there that I think is really important, and that is that you've got kind of more qualified leads. Like I get ads on my social media about, like the one I got today was about a cake that says, "I love your dick." For your partner.
Nice.
I was like,
what have you been searching for,
I would like that for my husband. A cake that says, "I love your dick." I was not Googling, "I love your dick"
or
cake.
deck? Is that your New Zealand accent?
What's that?
Did you say dick or deck?
I said D-I-C-K. I love your, how do I say it? Dick. Sorry, I'll say it with my Australian accent. I love your dick. Now we're talking about dick on the podcast. But my question was, let's go back to the question. In what ways is SEO better than social media?
So it's hard to kind of like say SEO is better than social media, because I truly believe that you need lots of different channels of marketing, like not just social media and SEO, like collaborations, podcasts, like there's lots of different forms of marketing. Obviously the one plus with SEO is you are targeting those hot leads, those qualified leads. Whereas with SEO, you can, with social media, it can be a little bit of, what do you say, throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. And I know that you can like change your marketing message to, you know, draw more clients and get more likes and things like that. But for SEO, it's still like, I think people think they set their SEO and then they forget. And it's not a set and forget. It's a set and then analyze and then adapt. Like, so I think that there's no better way. Like, you shouldn't be doing one without the other. They come together. And just to give you an example, this is the biggest irony of SEO ever. So for new SEO business to rank on page 1 for Google, forget it. Like, it is impossible. The keyword difficulty score, so that's the scoring of how likely you are to compete, is around about 95% out of 100 for anything like SEO consultant in your local area or things like that. So for me, social media is actually going to be one of my highest marketing channels because of how difficult it is for me to rank on page 1 for Google.
So it's a long game over time.
Yeah.
But whereas social media, you can get out there quicker.
Yeah. And I think it's a quick win thing, isn't it? You feel like you're doing something, it's being productive. You can see that your followers are going up and you're getting some engagement. Whereas for me with SEO, I know that I'm not going to get leads to my site yet. But that doesn't mean that I forget about SEO and think, oh, that's too hard. What I then do is I go for a different strategy. I go for long tail keywords. So instead of going for the SEO consultant Adelaide, I'll go for something more niche, like female entrepreneurs looking for SEO strategy. Right? It's probably searched a lot less, but I can guarantee you the difficulty word score will be a lot lower. And because the big boys are focusing on SEO consultant, SEO agency, SEO ranking, they're not focusing on these long tail keywords. So SEO is a strategy that's suitable for everybody. It's just getting that right strategy and picking those right keywords. And also with your keywords, it's about the intention of your keywords. So there's no point me trying to rank for SEO, because that could mean anything. Like, someone could be wanting to look at what it means. It could be an acronym for something else. It could be someone's looking for information on how to do it themselves. It could be really, you know, whereas if I go for something like female entrepreneur looking for SEO strategy, then that's more likely to be a hot lead. Can you see the difference in like the intention of what people are searching? So there's definitely a strategy for everybody. So I would never say that SEO is better than social media. It's just another form of marketing that ultimately has a higher conversion rate and a return on investment. But like I said, I use social media because it's a good platform for me to share my knowledge and build trust and get my message out there and hopefully, you know, convert clients.
So, and then over time, because you're working on the SEO behind the scenes, it will eventually also build up there as well. And obviously what you use on social media can be repurposed in a way on your website that then kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah. And I know you're a fan of long form content, which I did a post recently on my Instagram. I don't know if you saw it, about the lifespan of content.
Yes.
And when you think about the effort that you put into it, crushes my soul, how much effort you put into these reels and social media things, and they don't stay around for very long at all.
Yes. Whereas, and it's what I was speaking about on my podcast recently, about why we need to repurpose for that reason.
So for you, for these podcast episodes, you're recording them, they'll go on YouTube. That's long form content that then you can repurpose and reuse. It'll be in Google. And if you appear on other people's podcast, little tip for you, if you appear on other people's podcasts that you know have got a really good, solid online presence, they're more than likely to have what's called a high domain authority on their website. So if you appear on someone's podcast, ask them to backlink to your website.
Yes.
Because when they publish your episode on their website, that's actually passing some of their SEO juice to you. And that's a really good strategy to getting backlinks, to getting domain authority increases and pushing you further up the list.
Yes, really which is something that I've recently found out, because I have quite a few of those backlinks to my website, but I have just changed my domain from bethinkdocoaching.com to therealmg.com. So now I have to decide whether I just have that as a redirect to Bethink Do Coaching from the Real MG so that I hold my SEO ranking, or whether I start again. And if I start again, if I get rid of bethinkdocoaching.com and only have therealmg.com, I lose all of those backlinks.
But just reach out to them and tell them, just say, hey, I've just changed my website. Can you just redirect that to my new website? Because they'll have broken links on their site as well, which they don't want either. Yes. So yeah, definitely reach out to them.
Does that impact their website if they've got broken links?
It doesn't, but it just opens them up for people to be quite spammy. So there's companies out. Another bad thing about SEO, people will actually search for your website and find links, and then they'll email people and say, hey, I found a broken link on your site, it's not working, why don't you replace it with this one? And like it just opens you up for a little bit of that. It doesn't affect your SEO, but it's just good housekeeping just to make sure that, and user experience, you know, if I was on someone's website and I saw this amazing podcast with you on and I wanted to go to your website and I click on the link and it's broke, that's done from, you know what I mean? I'm not going to then go and search for you in Google to find you. But just thinking about, have you looked at your SEO rankings for your current website to see if it's actually worth the redirect?
Yes, just this week. It was, I had a full update this week, and the SEO ranking is doing quite well at the moment. However, I haven't looked at keywords. So this is something that, I mean, I might be ranking well, but in what?
Yeah, exactly. In what?
So that I know is an important component that is next on my list, because as I know we've spoken about a few times, this has kind of been something I've been working towards, because SEO isn't natural for me. I'm much more into the creative side of creating content for social media, and it's worked brilliantly for me in my business this far.
Yeah.
But I also see the value of having, as you say, multiple marketing channels. I've kind of somehow still managed to get a good SEO ranking just from adding to my website on a regular basis and having all of those backlinks, but it's not been a really strong strategy. So hence why we're here right now, right? And you're coming into the Unstoppables. A lot of the time I get people to come into the Unstoppables because I'm really interested in what they have to share as well.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't realize with SEO as well, it's not just about ranking, it's about visibility. It's about creating trust for your brand. It's about showing up and being visible. And that's like also important as well as just ranking. So our online presence is so important, especially with online business. So SEO does all that as well, which I don't think people automatically connect that that's also what it's doing as well.
Yes, absolutely. And it's what I'm talking about in eyeballs next week. It's like, it's just more eyeballs. It's more ways to get eyeballs on your business.
Yeah, definitely.
Through different channels. The more ways that people see your business, the more they relate to it and remember it, because they're like, oh, I saw that here, and I also saw it here, and I saw it on this channel, and it just makes your brand more brand awareness, basically.
And from a real marketing message, like SEO reduces the cost of your sales. So if you're not using advertising, and you get your SEO working really well, it can actually reduce the cost of the per sale click. Because people are finding you organically, which is another thing that people don't realize with SEO. It's an organic marketing method.
Yes. Yeah, actually, that's a really good point, because I think a lot of people assume that SEO requires paid Google ads, but it doesn't, does it?
No, I did a little quick stat check before I came on, and actually only 2.8% of Google ads are actually clicked on.
Wow.
That is insane when you think about the money that people pump into Google ads. However, I will caveat this, that I think this is going to change, because Google, if you've noticed in your search engines now, they're getting really sneaky about hiding the fact that it's an ad. Yes. So when you Google anything, it's not, it used to be super obvious, didn't it? It'd be like, right,
it was almost like a different color.
Yeah.
No, it's not. You can
No.
only see it by the one
Yeah.
word next to the, like, I don't know whether it's sponsored or
It says web now, I think. So it's not
right.
even like showing that it's an ad, like a paid ad. So they're getting really sneaky. And the reason they're getting sneaky is because obviously they generate most of their income from advertisement.
Of
So
course.
if people aren't clicking on them because we don't trust ads, so we just scroll past them, they're starting to get really, really sneaky with how they're disguising it. So I was quite surprised when I saw that 2.8%, and I did check it in a few places and it was pretty much the same.
Yeah.
But I suspect that will go up a little bit with the way they're hiding that it's an ad.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
because they want to. So it benefits them and it benefits the businesses that are paying if they do
Yes.
that. Yes.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
So what would be your top 3 tips for someone who is wanting to implement SEO strategy into their business and maybe they've not really done anything yet?
So tip 1 for me is learn the basics. Have a basic understanding yourself, for 2 reasons. 1, it stops you from getting scammed. So you know that when you see things like, I'll rank you number 1 in 10 days, like, you know that it's not going to happen. And also when you start working with an SEO consultant, if you've got no idea of anything, then you kind of don't understand where they're coming from. So if someone comes to me and they know absolutely nothing about SEO, that's really difficult for me to then try and explain to them why it's an investment, and it's a time investment, and it's not just a set and forget. And so learn the basics first, because that'll do you good, and it'll do the relationship with your SEO consultant really good as well, because they'll know that you understand why.
You can ask the right questions too. Because
Definitely.
when you don't
Yeah.
know anything at all, you're kind of like, I need to improve my SEO. And I don't know what that means. I don't know what I need from you.
Yeah. And also, like, people say to me, like, why would you want people to learn the basics? Because then they'll just do it themselves. And I promise you, after doing all the training I've done, that's great. And you'll get so far. And I do encourage people to do basic things themselves. But it's a strategy and it's a process, and it really needs somebody that has a deeper understanding to really maximize the benefits from SEO. And that's not a sales pitch. I've been there, I've seen what I was trying to do before I did my training, and it got me so far, and it did improve things a little bit. But afterwards, it's just skyrocketed, and I have a better understanding now. So number 1, learn the basics. Number 2, we've kind of talked a lot about keyword research, but if there was one thing that I would urge you to do, is invest in that keyword research, because that will build the foundations of all your SEO. So it will direct what you rank for each page, each product, and what keywords you should actually be going for. Because going for, like, I'm working with a dentist at the moment in Adelaide, and him going for just veneers is no good to him, because although there'll be 30,000 searches a month for the word veneers, that's not going to get him clients. It might get him 1 or 2, luckily, but that's just stabbing at the dark. Whereas we want to look for things like veneer dentist in the local area, like wherever the area is, or best veneer dentist in blah, blah, blah. So we're looking at including, like, location keywords into that. But yeah, if there's one thing I would say, if you don't want to invest in a whole SEO strategy and maintenance SEO, then just invest in your keyword research, because at least that will get you on the right path from the beginning. And then you can choose what you do from there, whether you implement it yourself or you get some help. But yeah, invest in your keyword research. And the final thing is, my big tip is, be patient. SEO is a journey. It is not something that you will see the benefits from overnight. It's tracking. It's a little bit of test and check. So you put something into place, and then you've got to allow it to take place and see what happens before you change. So it is a long game. The rule of thumb is for any sort of implementation to be a minimum of 3 to 6 months before you see the real big benefits from it. However, like, having done it for our window website, we found benefits within sort of 10 to 12 weeks consistently. But the rule is sort of minimum 3 months, and then like 6 months to have a real good grasp on where you are. And then, like, what's left to improve and tweak and change. Like, that really gives that big picture of what else you can do.
I think the same goes for everything in business and marketing. It blows my mind how people expect to do one thing one day and get a result in that day.
Yeah.
And everything you need to commit to for at least 3 to 6 months to actually determine whether it's worked or not in your business. So SEO is no different.
And this is going to be a complete, like, conversation changer, but don't you think that's coming from the pressure of how much people talk about their success? And I'm not saying that people shouldn't talk about success, but it's sort of like come to the point now where people are obsessed with talking about it. So then people feel like they're doing something wrong. And it's only when people like the story that you shared yesterday on your Instagram about a client that hadn't got any signups from her program. How many coaches do you actually see sharing that stuff? None.
As I said, not many, if any, because you don't. And it's a big problem in business. I understand that marketing, it's important to share the results, and you need to have proven testimonies of what it is that you can achieve with your clients. But at the same time, we also need to be real with our clients and have them trust us, because if you can see that someone, isn't necessarily getting the results, but they're getting the support to shift that, then that's exceptional service, right? And I think you mentioned earlier as well, no one's where they want to be in business. I have not met a single person who's like, I got exactly where I want to be and I'm there right now. I always want to be further. Like, everyone wants to be further along in their journey. Even, my own coach who earns over 7 figures, myself, like, I wanted to be further ahead by now, but that's just because we're really fucking ambitious. And that's okay. Like, then you also, and I know you also reframed and we're like, but actually, if I look back and go, well, look how far I've come in 6 months. If we can all do that, all of a sudden we're like, oh yeah, actually I've done really well. There's a Tony Robbins quote. Well, I'm not a big fan of Tony Robbins at the moment, but anyway, it's a side. That is, we overestimate what we can achieve in a year and we underestimate what we can achieve in 5 years. And I think that's so true. If I reflect on 5 years, I'm like, but if I reflect on a year, I'm going, oh yeah, I probably could have done more. And it's just because we are our own worst critics. Exactly what you said earlier as well.
And I think you've just got to trust that you'll be where you need to be at the right time. And I think, you either accept that or it drives you mad.
Yes. And you do have to learn to accept it, because it's like what happened when you had the whole thing pulled out from underneath you with gut hypnotherapy, and realized that now, the whole plan that you had, this whole vision that you had to change. But now look at where you are and doing what you're doing, and it's just taking off like a bull at the gates,
Yeah. And I think it happened for a reason as well, that I just sort of like, and I think if I hadn't have trusted that time, like, and given myself that time just to sit back and allow it to stew and just see what came up. Like, I had the pressure of knowing that I'd signed up for a program for 12 months and I was heading into it not knowing what to do. I was like, what am I doing? But you just got to sometimes just trust that what you're meant to do will come through. And for me, it did. And now I've just got to keep going, be consistent, do all the things that I've learned to do in the Unstoppables. Like, God, the amount of things that I've learned to do is incredible. Like setting up systems and Instagram and all, like, pages and funnels and marketing. It's just insane. Like, the things that I've learned in the last 6 months, really.
Yeah, you've done amazingly. And I'm super excited for you to come into the group and share, more of this knowledge so that the Unstoppables can start to implement more of their own SEO strategy. Before we finish up, where can people find out more about you and your services and the offers that you have?
So I live on Instagram a lot. So I'm just at Lyndsay Bibb, and I just share lots of just tips and tricks and just things that I've learned about SEO on there. You can also find me on my website, which again is just lyndsaybibb.com. And I currently have some one-to-one SEO strategy spots going. So I've only got 3 of those available because I like to work quite closely and help people understand SEO at the same time. So these spots are quite intense for me. So I only have 3 available at the moment. But if you just want something like your keyword research doing, then that's great. And I also have a website audit. So if you're not actually sure where your SEO is in your website is currently doing, then I have a really low offer for a website audit, and that's also available on Instagram and on my website.
Amazing. And I'll make sure that is all in the show notes so that people can go and connect. Amazing. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast, and I look forward to seeing you in the Unstoppables. And if anyone wants to check out the Unstoppables, that will be in the show notes as well. And by the time this podcast comes out, Lyndsay will have already shared all of her gold in the group, but you will be able to catch a replay if that's something that you're after as well.
Thanks, Em.
Thank you.